Hello everybody, good morning. If you all could just let me know real quick in the chat if you can see me and hear me okay. I always like to start out just checking to make sure everything's working. But hello and welcome. Thank you for... Real quick in the chat if you can see me and hear me okay. Hold on guys. I always like to start out just checking to make sure everything's working. I gotta mute my second phone here. Thank you for in the chat. You can see me and hear me. Hold on, guys. I always like to start out. Oh my gosh, why is this not working? I gotta mute my. 1 second. I have a second phone here just so I could have the chat open, and it's just easier for me to read it off from another device instead of forward on the phone, the other phone taking the recording. But thank you so much, Hash, for confirming that you can hear me and everything correctly. But anyways, I try to do a live gardening class about once a month. Sometimes I have a defined topic that I'm teaching about. Other times it's just garden chit chat, just answering your questions, whatever that might be. So today is one of those classes. It's just open-ended. If you're struggling with something in your garden right now and you're trying to figure that out, or if you have tips or learned something new that you would like to share with everyone else. I learn just as much from you guys as you do from me. The comments, I read them all the time, and lots of people drop me some really good information. So that helps me out as well. Fall gardening is right around the corner. If you're in a state, I'm in Florida, by the way. I'm in Orlando, Florida, zone 10A. So my fall gardening doesn't really start until the very end of like September, and then October is like full-on planting for me. It's finally cooled down enough to where I can plant all the cool season fall stuff. But if you're in a state north of me, you should be planting up your fall gardens like now at the very end of summer. So anyways, maybe we can all discuss that. What are you guys doing to prepare for fall? And I'll share some of the things that I've been doing in my garden. If you do have a question or something like that, if you could just put along with it in the comments your state and your garden zone, that really helps me better give you the best answer possible. And just a couple things that are going on right now. I do have a seed club. It's a seed subscription. I send out a delivery of seeds that I chose myself for the upcoming season, and it's shipped out every 3 months to match with the seasons. So I'm getting ready to ship out the next one. So if it's something that you want to try out, make sure you subscribe as soon as possible. You can find the full details on my website, jarasgarden.com. And in the description of this class, I tried to think about maybe the things I'm going to mention and put links in there so you guys can find whatever supplies I'm talking about, plant, whatever it is. There is a link there for the seed subscription portion of my website if you want full details. That will be shipping out at the very beginning of September, and it's going to be the winter seed collection or delivery. I'm still not sure what seeds are going to be included. I kind of decide this very close to the shipping time because I want to make sure I'm using the freshest seeds, or maybe varieties that I just trialed out and learned about and really liked, stuff like that. So not 100% sure, but it is geared towards the winter season. And basically, no matter where you're located, you can grow the same types of crops. The things I would grow in winter are going to be pretty much the same almost as someone in a state like north of me during your winter. So the planting times are just going to be a little bit different. So the way that I do this, the seed club, it works for everybody. It's just the timing of when you will plant that will differ. So it has very detailed instructions with each seed to help you calculate the best time to plant those things for you. So I say that because I get a lot of questions from people all over, the United States. They think that my seed club is just for Florida gardeners or something like that, and it's not. It's applicable for everybody. And I ship a season ahead. So that way, if you have to start your seeds, if you're in a state north of me, you guys are starting seeds now in August for your fall garden, you can do that. Whereas if you're in a hotter climate like me and you have to wait maybe towards the end of September, October, that's fine. You still have your seeds ahead of time to do that. But anyways, let me check out the comments real quick. and see what kind of questions I have going on. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm trying to read those comments. And just so you guys know as well, it is super hot. I try to do this kind of early in the morning before it starts raining and all of that, but it's so hot. So I have had my phone overheat and just shut down. So if that happens, I'm so sorry. That definitely will terminate this live class, but just letting you know that can happen. So let me read the first question here from Dina. You're in Southwest Florida. You started your corn in seed cells. Do you feed them with fertilizer? The roots are growing into the tray, and how do I get these out into the garden? So I actually just started a whole bunch of corn from seed in 72 cell seed trays, because if you can, I mean, the best way to do it is direct sowing the seeds. But every time I direct sow seeds outside, critters find them. They know where I planted that corn. Same thing with sunflowers. They dig it out, they eat the seed, and then nothing grows, right? So a way to fix that or prevent that problem is getting a 72 cell seed tray and planting one corn seed per cell, so to speak, and grow out a little plug for about 3 weeks. So Dina, I don't know where you're at, like how old your seedlings are right now, but usually when I hit the 3-week mark, their root system is pretty well developed, and if you go beyond that, they will get root bound, or which is not good because that will stunt their growth. They don't get as tall. So I have seen that happen. So definitely start fertilizing them as well. I like to use Fox Farms Grow Big, so I will bottom feed them. I have a the bottom tray with no holes that the 72 cell seed tray fits in perfectly. It's a 10 by 20 inch tray. That's like the standard. And I get all that stuff from Amazon. So I will fill that with water and pour a little bit of the Fox Farms Grow Bag, and then set the 72 cell seed tray with all my seedlings in there, so it like bottom feeds them and fertilizes them and everything. Corn is a very hungry crop. It's related to grass. It basically just needs a lot of water and nitrogen. So definitely, actually this morning I fertilized them just now before I entered this class, because I'm about to plant them outside and I just wanted to give them a good boost. So, and how do you get them out into the garden? So my plan is to plant them in a raised bed that is approximately 8 by 3, like 8 foot by 3 foot. And I space my corn about 6 inches apart. If it's like the really tall varieties, the ones that get like 8 feet tall and that kind of thing, then I space them like 10 inches apart, give them a little bit extra space. But the smaller, shorter varieties, or the ones that mature in like less than 80 days, they tend to like not get as tall. So those can go in a little bit closer. So then I have drip irrigation with like emitters built in, and it's either 6 inches apart emitters or 8 inches. So that helps me like perfectly space out the corn. I will install my drip irrigation first, and then wherever the emitter is, I'll just take like a little hand shovel and like poke a hole to make the little hole to pop the plug in. I also like to add fertilizer into the planting hole of anything that you're transplanting. You should add some kind of fertilizer to give that plant a little boost. So with corn, I mean, you can use like Espoma garden tone, like something all purpose. However, corn really likes nitrogen, and that's basically all it needs. So technically, like farmers and stuff like that will use like, how do I say this? Like fertilizers that are much higher in nitrogen. Like we're talking 40% by weight or something like that when you look at the numbers at the bottom of the fertilizer bag. Most of that stuff, all of it is synthetic in that case, because there's like no organic nitrogen fertilizer that is that high. Normally I see like 5 or 6% by weight for nitrogen in organic fertilizer. So it's up to you, whatever kind of fertilizer you want to use. But if you really want to get that vigor, that growth, the bigger the plants are, then the bigger your cobs are going to be and that kind of thing, then go with something like the ammonium sulfate, the synthetic fertilizers. But anyways, let me continue here. Scott is saying, I started my tomatoes inside from seed. When can I transplant outdoors? You're zone 9. Zone 9, and you're in Florida as well. Basically, whenever they get to size. Mine, sometimes they get to size at the end of August, and then I go ahead and transplant them, because the last thing you want is for them to get root bound, because that will set them back a little bit and they struggle. So whatever kind of container that you used, I would just like gently pop it. I wish I had a plant right now, but like I like to like pop it over and hold the plant. And if the root system is so developed that it holds onto the soil and it doesn't just like fall apart, that's how you know it's like perfect. It's perfect to be transplanted into the garden. If the root system is like super wound and tight, and that means it got like root bound, it's not the worst thing for tomatoes. Like they will grow out of it, but it will set them back a little bit, and you don't want to do that. So just check. And that works for like anything that you are growing transplants out of and you're not sure, you know, is this ready to go into the garden? The indicator is how developed the root system is. See if you can gently pop it out and kind of look at it and check if it's at least developed enough to keep that soil together. Then it's pretty much good to go. The only issue is that at least with Florida and like hot climate gardeners, if you're in tropical, subtropical areas, is it's high disease and pest pressure right now. So whatever you're planting or transplanting, especially if it's crops that are very susceptible to a lot of diseases and pests, like tomatoes, squash, anything in the cucurbit family are probably like by far the top two. Like they attract everything. If you are planting those right now, you just got to really monitor them, check on them every day. As soon as you see any kind of disease or pest or something, you got to like stay on top of it and treat for it. Keep those seedlings healthy, get them to push out new growth, get to maturity, that kind of thing. Or they're just going to get mowed down and destroyed. Usually by the end of September, like literally the official day of fall, which I think is like September 22nd, something like that, is when I feel like the coolness moving in, and I could tell like there's definitely a shift, and the disease and pest pressure naturally like goes down with that too. So just as long as you can baby your seedlings, take care of them, treat them until we get to that point in the year where the pest pressure and everything's down, then you're good to go. Okay, so Lindsay's saying that she is growing chamomile from seed, and you started them indoors. The seed sprouted, but they're not growing past a seedling. I don't think you should start over. Chamomile can be a little slow growing at first, and I would also check like your light source. I'm not sure if you're putting them like by like a bright window, which I always don't recommend. I don't think anyone's windows in your houses are strong enough light appropriate for seedlings, so I always recommend adding some kind of supplemental light. So I use grow lights, official grow lights, and I've seen a drastic difference in the health and vigor of my seedlings. They grow much faster. Chamomile doesn't need like the most amount of light, not like a tomato or pepper where they need like bright light. But I would check your light source, and you can fertilize them too. If they've sprouted and they have like the first set of a couple leaves, you can gently start fertilizing them, and maybe that will help push them, you know, into a growth state. But yeah, chamomile is pretty easy to grow from seed. I honestly, my preference is to direct sow them from seed, because it's just, you broadcast them, they all sprout and that kind of thing. But yeah, I would check lighting and potential fertilizing as well. Cassie, and speaking about grow lights, is asking me, you have the Mars Hydro grow lights, probably the ones that I recommend and the ones that I use. I love Mars Hydro because they are super bright. They're by far like the brightest grow lights I've been able to find. But how do you know how close to put them to your seedlings? I get asked this all the time, and I never read the directions, to be honest, like official directions from Mars Hydro or whatever. I just did it. And what I recommend is that you learn how to look at your plants and tell if they need more light or if they need to be, you know, moved away from it and that kind of thing. So like for tomatoes and peppers, normally starting out as little seedlings, I'll have the light, like here's the seedlings, the light's like about here or so, like super bright, and I put the intensity all the way up. If it's like tomatoes and peppers, they can handle all of that intensity. And as it grows, as your seedlings grow, I will adjust the light a little bit higher because you don't want it to be like right on top of them. But an indicator that it's too close is if you notice the leaves are burning or getting sunburn or something like that. And that kind of looks like white blotchy spots. It's sunburn on the plants, but it looks like white blotches. So if that's happening, then you know your light is just way too close. Move it away. If they're not getting enough light, then they get leggy and they're stretching like usually towards a certain direction. It's pretty noticeable when that happens. And that's not good because when a plant's stem elongates unnaturally than what it should be, the stem is weaker, susceptible to being broken, and just not the healthiest transplants. You want tomatoes and peppers to have nice thick stems, ideally. So that's what I recommend. Like, play with the lighting and adjust according to how you see your plants are reacting. Are they getting sunburned? Then move the light away. Are they getting leggy? Have they stalled out growing? Then they need a little bit more light. If it's gentle things like chamomile, doesn't need like full sun, like the bright sun like a tomato would. Then maybe lower the light setting so it's not at its brightest setting, and then keep it like in the middle or something, just a little bit more gentle or something like that. But that's how I figured that out. I'm sure Mars Hydro probably has some official directions or something like that, but I just see how my plants are reacting. All right, 1 second while I scroll through the comments here and get caught up where I was. Oh, Shannon's asking, how do we utilize greenhouses in Florida? We don't. Very rarely do I ever see anyone with like an official greenhouse in Florida, unless you're trying to protect something from the cold. Because here it's just way too hot. Unless you can put an AC unit or something to keep the temperature down. Like, that's what like the big like commercial nurseries and farms do. If they have a greenhouse, like in the summer, it's just so hot and that will kill your plants. So they have AC in there or whatever, they're controlling the temperature. For a regular home backyard gardener, that's not realistic. Like, I don't even do that. So the only time that I've ever had like a greenhouse type of situation is during the winter. Some of my plants, especially I sell plants and seeds too on my website, so I have a lot of plant inventory and things I'm propagating all the time. So when winter comes, that's a concern. It could kill my plants. So there have been times where I have like a 8 by 8 foot arbor type thing, and I will get like green house plastic and wrap it in that to keep everything warm inside. And I've actually had to get like a little mini heater and put it in there just for like the night or two where it actually gets really cold, down below 35 or something like that. So that's really the only reason I see why someone in Florida would have anything like a greenhouse. Other than that, it's just not necessary. Unless if you're a cold climate gardener, then yeah, a greenhouse is going to help you a lot. It'll help keep your plants warm, help extend your season a little bit, and that kind of thing. If I lived in a cold climate, I definitely would have greenhouses to be able to continue growing stuff year round. All right, next question from Karen. You're planting in raised beds. You're planting carrots. What plants are good to plant with carrots? I kind of, there's a lot of like companion planting guides and stuff like that. A lot of people will say, don't plant this with that because they don't like growing next to each other or whatever. A lot of that stuff is not based on actual research, science, data, anything like that. It's some of it, yes. Like, for example, sunflowers. Sunflowers are, I think the word is allotropic, which means that their root system, their leaves, the plant matter of a sunflower does have some chemicals in there that hinders the growth of other plants that grow around it. That for sure is a fact. So for the most part, you don't want to plant sunflowers next to your veggie crops. That's like a generic thing. Other than that, you're fine. What I tend to look at is the size, the dimensions of the crops, and how they fit in together. So for example, you're planting a root crop, carrots, garlic, your turnips, all of this stuff, right? They're considered root crops. You're at some point for harvest, you're going to be yanking those out, and that's going to disturb the soil around it. So if you have another plant growing close to it, you can potentially damage the root system and disturb all of that. So that's what I think about when I'm trying to figure out what to plant around my carrots. So some good companion planting things with carrots, I'll say you sow your rows of carrots, would be little greens, for example, like lettuces, leafy greens like mizuna, little stuff like that, tatsoi, because they don't have very deep root systems. So when you pull out that carrot, it's not going to disturb it that much. So like little greens, even like chamomile, cilantro, like direct sowing seeds around your carrots to kind of fill in that space. It helps block out weeds. You're growing more edible stuff in the same space. But these things have small root systems that are kind of like in just the first few inches of the soil. So when you pull out your carrots, it's not going to do much damage to them. I would not plant your carrots underneath something like a tomato or pepper. These things have massive root systems, and when you yank that out, you're definitely going to be disturbing them in some way. But you can plant them if they're a certain distance away. So like you could have one row of tomatoes, and then maybe like 2 or 3 feet away, you can have a row of carrots. That works out too. When you pull those carrots out, you're not really going to be affecting those tomatoes that much. So that's kind of what I look at. Another good idea with carrots for companion planting is radishes, like the little ones that mature in about 30 days, because carrots take 3 to 4 months to get to maturity. The radishes take 30, 45 days to get to maturity. And the little radishes like cherry bell or your Easter egg, that kind of thing, they're small and they don't go deep into the ground. So you're going to harvest those out first at a month and a half. It shouldn't disturb your carrots. The carrots are going to continue growing, and then you harvest those out later. So that's another idea for you. But I have more of a tendency to look at plant height and sunlight requirements. So the tall stuff I'll put at the back, and then middle like average middle height stuff I'll put in the middle, and then on the front or the edges of my beds and stuff like that, I'll put the shorter, low growing stuff. So everyone has like access to light and they're not blocking each other out. Let me check the next question here. Woven Naps is asking, you have a loofah seedling, can you plant it in a 20-gallon grow bag? I think that would work. Loofah, yeah, I think a 20-gallon. The bigger that you can give it, the better. I don't think loofah has the most deepest root systems, but the plants get huge by far. Any kind of loofah you're going to grow, expect vines that are more than 20 feet long. At least here in my garden, that's how they get, and they grow on top of everything. So make sure wherever you put that grow bag that it has something to climb up on. So, and I've grown loofahs in big containers too. I don't know the exact size, but probably something 20 or bigger. Just make sure that you have like a trellis, an arbor, something for that loofah to jump up on and grow. Gwen is saying, you would love for me to come visit your garden and tell you what you're doing wrong or could do better. Do I do anything like that? So I get asked this all the time. People want me to visit their properties and design a garden plan or something like that, or survey it, give ideas and stuff. I honestly just don't have the bandwidth for that right now. It is something that I would love to do, and I'm actually going next month to Costa Rica to do a permaculture certification course for permaculture design, because that's just something that I'm really, really passionate about, permaculture specifically, and like food forests and that kind of thing. So I do want to get that certification because I feel like in the future, I definitely want to offer that service where I can go consult or help people design stuff. But I also have a full-time job not related to any of this. I work at a pharmacy. I have to get to the point where I can quit that job so I have more time to be able to do stuff like traveling around and visiting and doing consulting and whatever kind of stuff. So that job is, besides my full-time job, having a nursery business and seeds and my YouTube channel and everything else that I do. But that is something I want to plan for my future, to be able to do an offer, because it's gardening and growing food and all that. That is my life's passion, and that's what I want to do, not the pharmacy stuff eventually, someday. I'm just not there yet, but it's coming. Woven's asking me that you have the pink eye purple hull. Are they top pick or are they Mississippi pink? I think mine are top pick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure mine is the top pick variety specifically. Simon is asking, do I believe if organic farming is viable? Yes, absolutely. I, for the most part, am completely organic. I use organic fertilizers and all of that stuff. There's very rare instances when I would use something synthetic, which would be when I grow corn. I don't know if you were here early in the class, I was talking about that and why I use or recommend like ammonium sulfates and stuff like that for corn. But everything else, including corn, you can grow organically. And again, this is why I'm going to Costa Rica to take this permaculture class, because they, along with the ideals of permaculture, is solely organic gardening. And Costa Rica's climate is super tropical, and here in Florida it's super tropical as well. I'm in a subtropical, but yeah, it's crazy here trying to grow food sometimes. And so I wanted to go there and see how they do it, and all organically, so I can bring those practices more here at my home garden and really develop that and dive in. But yes, humans, I don't know how many thousands of years we've been farming, it's always been organic up until the 1900s, basically, when conventional modern farming techniques, machinery, fertilizers, all of that stuff were invented. So organic farming is how we've always done it for the majority of history. And I strongly feel we need to go back to that. We need to not be dependent on the synthetic stuff, the chemicals. The prices of all of that stuff has gone up dramatically anyways over the years. It damages our soils, our planet, and that kind of thing. Permaculture also dives into how to use the resources that you have in harmony with nature instead of damaging nature, so to speak. So preserving your resources and that kind of thing. So I personally, yes, I'm getting a certification going to this, but it's also something that I personally really believe in, and I want to like get deeper into that. And of course, share all of that information with you guys. And how does a regular home backyard gardener take those ideas and apply them at home as much as you can anyways. Dr. Amana Levi is saying, what do you use to prevent field mice or moles from getting into your fruit or veggies? And what is the best preventative measure to take? So I'm in a very urban neighborhood. I don't have like a rodent problem. I've had like a possum here and there come through and eat like my tomatoes or whatever, but they're really good for the environment. Don't kill your possums, okay? They eat ticks and all kinds of stuff. I haven't even had raccoons in here. I do have a squirrel, but I put like bird food and peanuts out to kind of distract the squirrel, and they would rather eat that than my fruits and stuff like that. Sometimes I will put netting over my fruit trees. Sometimes I will bag up the developing fruits with organza treat baggies. Like you can get them from Amazon really, really cheap. They're like the little treat baggies you would buy for like a party or something. And I'll get some of those and just cover my fruits with them if I have to. That's really helpful for like tomatoes, for example, because when those things start going red, all the birds, all the critters in the neighborhood notice that. So I like to get purple colored organza baggies or like dark blue or something like that, because then when I cover the tomato, even though that tomato is turning red, it kind of like masks that red color a little bit. So my strategy is to protect the fruit or put something else out there that they would rather eat. But I haven't had like rodents and that kind of thing. And I feel like you shouldn't kill the rodents with like poison, because other animals will eat rodents as well, like owls, hawks, stuff like that. So if the rodent is poisoned, so will the other animals. So attract cats to you. That's what I think I would do if I had like lots of land and like a whole big farm and all this, which is something I do want to get eventually in my life. I would definitely invite cats, like outdoor cats. They will keep your rodent problem at a minimum. My aunt, she has a couple acres of land in St. Cloud, and I have another garden over there too. Not as big as what I have here, but she definitely has like, there's rodents over there like crazy, and she got one cat, and that has significantly like reduced the rodent problem. All right, 1 second, guys. I'm scrolling through the questions here. Tamiko is saying, what do you suggest for eggplant bugs and green bean bugs? I have little black bugs eating my green bean leaves and little black bugs on one of my eggplants. Whenever you have like a pest problem, you really have to identify what that pest is. Like a little black bug could be so many things. I'm gonna assume, well, I was gonna say aphids, but aphids don't chew leaves up. They just suck juices out of plants. So I don't know. I have to know what the bug is. I've never had black bugs on my green bean leaves. I've had some of the leaves look like cut and rolled in. That's a leaf cutter caterpillar, I believe. So then in that case, you would spray with BT, which kills little worms and caterpillars. And eggplants, I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. If you want, Tamiko, sorry. You can send me an email with a photo of the little bug. My email is info@jarasgarden.com, and that way I can see what we're talking about. Sometimes, I mean, I still get tons of bugs. I don't know what they are either, and I'll take a picture and I'll either put it through Google Lens or ChatGPT, and it has done a very good job identifying what that pest is. And then once you know what the pest is, you can buy the appropriate treatment or whatever protocol might be for taking care of it. All right, I'm at the bottom here of all the questions. So right now I want to know what you guys are doing. Like, what are you guys doing to prepare for fall? This whole like last 2 weeks, I have been, I terminated my cover crops. I did sun hemp this summer to try and build my soil health and also knock the root knot nematode population or maintain it as low as possible. I don't have root knot nematodes terribly in my garden, but it's just something, if you're in a hot climate, it's something you always have to like look out for and manage and be fighting against, so to speak, before it just gets crazy out of control. So this summer I wanted to improve my soil health. Sun hemp is nematocidal, so that helps like outright kill them. It has compounds in it that kills them. And we finished just, I don't know if you guys can hear that playing. We terminated the sun hemp, basically cut it down to bits and bits and bits, and it created like a mulch layer over my soil. Then on top of that, I put like new compost. I put a ton of worm castings. Worm castings is worm frass or poop, but it's very highly nutritional. It's organic, but it helps build the soil microbiology, because it's not exactly good enough to just put compost sometimes, unless you're very good at making bioactive compost, like compost that actually has life in it, microbiology, good fungi, good all of that stuff. It's you just don't know, especially if you're buying it from somewhere you don't know how it was made, how good of quality it is. So I've been adding worm castings in there too, because that is food for a lot of this microbiology. And I'm trying to, you could do like compost teas and all this kind of stuff to just like increase the soil biology, because the higher the population of the good stuff is, will knock down the population of the bad stuff, like the root knot nematodes and whatever else there might be. So it's, there's tons of organisms living in your soil, like thousands, millions of different things. And so if the population of the good is what's dominating, it kind of like reduces the bad, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of what I've been into. I've also put a layer of ram board. It's basically a big roll of, I'm not sure. I think people that like paint houses and stuff will get it because it's like cardboard. It's like made out of paper. And they will like put it on the floor, you know, when you're painting so the floor doesn't get messed up. But you can buy a big roll of it. It's paper. And instead of putting like a layer of black plastic weed blocker or something like that, use the ram board because it's paper. It's just paper. It's not even printed. It has no inks, no tape on it, nothing. It's just a layer of paper. And it's a little bit thicker than like regular construction paper or something like that. But it's just really easy to roll that out. It'll suppress the weeds. It'll break down. Earthworms love paper products. So if you can throw, you know, shredded cardboard, paper, all that kind of stuff into your soil or use it to block out weeds and then put your mulch on top of it, that you're going to attract so many like worms into your raised beds, your in-ground spaces, whatever you're doing. And again, they will poop, which makes worm castings and feeds that soil microbiology. And it's just all around a really good cycle to like encourage in your soil. So that's kind of what I've been doing, just throwing everything that I can in there. Also, anything with chitin, so that would be crab meal, crustacean meal. Sometimes they have like mixes with like shrimp shells and crab shells, all that kind of stuff, because that also feeds the microbiology as well. So just prepping all of my beds before I start planting. I'm not going to plant until I come back from Costa Rica, so it's going to be at the end of September. But yeah, everything will be prepped. The amendments I've added had some time to like break down and kind of start working and incorporating. So that's kind of been my focus the last couple months. And yeah, I invite you guys, if you have any ideas, new things you're trying out, things that worked really well for you last fall season, let me know in the comments. All right. I don't think, hold on. I think my live chat here has stopped or something. 1 second, guys. Let me refresh this. 1 second, because I can tell that it's not loading the newest comments. All right, perfect. Let me get caught up. 1 second. If you're going to ask a question, please put your state and garden zones. Hold on. I'm still... There's a lot of questions here. It looked like it had stopped, but it didn't. All right, finally... Michael, okay, so I had to go back pretty far. All right, so if you, yeah, these questions are, I don't know how long ago you guys asked these questions, but I'm sorry. I'm just loading them now. But Michael Mendoza says you're in zone 5B and you're starting your fall garden planting. What do you recommend? People ask me all the time, what can I plant right now? And I always will direct you to my YouTube channel for the monthly garden guide for that month. The August one is there because I go through, lately I've been dividing it up. Well, right now the most important thing is what can you plant right now according to how much time you have left before your first winter frost. So my garden guides have been, if you have 1 month left, 2 months, 3, all of that. So it's applicable to everybody. You just got to find like which part of it applies to you and your situation right now. And then I give a ton of ideas for you. So go watch the August garden guide. The September one is coming out, I think this Friday. So that will be the September one. But yeah, there's a long list of lots of stuff, and it all depends on how much time you have left until your first frost. So that's why I say go watch that video. Georgina is saying you're direct sowing your corn. Is it okay to sow yard-long beans and rattlesnake beans when you're at 10B? I think you're fine, yes. 10B, I'm 10A, so you've got like 2 more weeks before, at least before your first frost. Yeah, I'm gonna estimate your first frost, even if you get one. I think we've discussed this in the email, how your microclimate, yeah, I remember this now. How you felt it was like hotter and everything. Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead, direct sow, you know, the yard long beans, all of that. You barely get a frost. Like, yeah, you're definitely gonna get a harvest in with those things. I'm in 10A and I like to direct sow, like the last time I will direct sow seeds for beans is September, just to make sure I get a harvest in before things really start cooling off more later in December for me. But yeah, you're fine. Kelly is asking, do I need to wait for seeds to sprout in my raised bed before I mulch it? Yes, you do, because I mean, if you put a thick layer of mulch over your newly germinated seedlings, that cuts off their access to light and they'll die. So wait until they get a little bit bigger, not just little seedlings or newly germinated. They have to be a little bit bigger before you start mulching stuff. I have a tendency to mulch everything. Like, that is exactly what I just did the last couple weeks. Mulch everything before you plant. And if you're going to direct sow seeds for something, then I move the mulch out of the way of that little section or that spot, and then I direct sow my seeds into that soil that has been cleared. And then later on in the season, when the plant is bigger, I'll go back through and like push the mulch back in between. Kelly also asked, your loofah got eaten up. Kelly, I don't know if you have enough time to plant loofah. It depends, when is your first frost, if you get frost. Loofah needs about 4 to 5 months from seed to like harvest. So that probably would only work for like, areas that don't get frost, basically at this point, to ensure that you harvest before that. But if you have your plant is already in there, just got a little chewed up, that's fine. Loofah is kind of a hard to kill plant. I would fertilize it a little bit to give it a boost, to help it put on some new growth. And if it got chewed up by worms or something like that, then I would spray with BT or spinosad. Annie is saying that your indoor seedlings in your grow room have spider mites and whitefly. What can you do organically to get rid of them? That's tough. Those 2 pests are tough, and that sucks you got both of them at the same time. I recommend that you get some organic insecticidal soap. I probably have a link to it in the description because I recommend it all the time of this class, so you can find the same one that I use. Mix it per the directions and spray your plants, spray the surface of the soil, because that's where usually the spider mites are kind of near the soil surface. And the whiteflies lay their eggs and larvae in the soil as well. So you kind of just want to disrupt that whole life cycle. But you will have to stay on top of spraying very consistently for a long time to like break their whole reproductive cycle and kind of stop them at that point. Also make sure the soil is not staying like moist all the time. Let it dry out in between watering a little bit too. Wow, I am very far back in these questions. So sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm scrolling through them. Oh, Shannon, I am now seeing your question about the greenhouses. If you don't have space in your house to start seeds in the winter, how do you start them indoors, outside, like outside? Very good question. There's definitely a solution for that. So a lot of people don't have space to start seeds indoors. So I recommend you get a little mini greenhouse from Amazon that comes with the zipped up plastic that goes over it, and you zip it shut. And then put that, preferably if you can, like if you have a patio or something like that, put it in there so it gets some kind of shelter from the winter or whatever. And then get a bunch of grow mats and stick them in the shelves, on top of the shelves, and turn them all on. I don't know how cold your climate gets, but like here in Florida, it doesn't get terribly cold, but there are a couple nights where it drops down to like 30, 32, something like that. So I put like the bottommost shelf full of heat mats, and that's usually enough. Once I zip the mini greenhouse shut, it traps that heat in there. You can see it like the condensation, and it's just staying like humid and warm. So that's a good way to start seeds outdoors if you have to. Obviously, if you're in a colder climate, I don't know if just heat mats would be enough. Maybe you have to get a little heater or something like that. They do sell like mini greenhouse heaters on Amazon. Tamiko says, how do I get my radishes to bulb? Yours just grows greens. There's a couple reasons why that would happen. Number one, if it's too hot, they won't bulb up. So not sure if you're just direct sowing the seeds like too early or too late or whatever the case might be, and it's just too hot. Number two, the majority of radishes will say on the packet 30 days to maturity. I've never had like 30 days on the dot. It usually takes a couple more weeks for me just to leave them in there, and they eventually will bulb up unless it gets too hot. If it gets too hot, they're not going to bulb up. Sorry guys, scrolling through. Libby is saying, Libby Smith, that you just started tomatoes and peppers indoors 4 days ago on heat mats, domed, and grow lights. So far, nothing. Should you worry? No, you should not worry. Tomatoes, I usually get germination in 3 to 5 days, something like that. But I'm also a professional nursery, so I get those things that go quick. But hey, if they take up to 10 days or something like that for the tomatoes, that's fine. I would not worry. Peppers and eggplants take much longer. Like normally for me, 10 days around there, 7 to 10 days is about normal for me, but some of them just take much longer than that. So I wouldn't worry just yet. You just sowed them. Vanessa was asking if you can grow butternut squash in a 10-gallon grow bag. I would give it a little bit more. Butternut squash is a huge plant. I would give it, you can grow it in a grow bag, but I would give it like 25 gallon, something like that. It definitely would benefit from a bigger container size. Ruth was asking if you fertilize, should you add more fertilizer when you have torrential rains? That's a good question, because hard rain like that, I mean, obviously I'm in Florida and every afternoon has been like a monsoon, does wash out all the nutrients. So especially if you're using liquid fertilizers, that stuff is going to just go straight through the soil and be gone. So you might want to like just hold off. I mean, you're wasting fertilizer at that point. Or use a type of fertilizer, granular, that takes time to break down, because then it's not going to like just wash through, with all the rains and stuff. Hold on, it turned off. Miss P is saying that you live in Virginia. Your first frost is mid-November. You're in the process of planting cherry tomatoes right now. Will you be okay? If you plant cherry tomatoes, they usually start producing in about, I mean, it depends on the variety. There's literally hundreds of varieties of cherry tomatoes. Some of mine are producing in 30 days, some in like 45. It just depends. I would say if you plant some right now, well, okay, if you transplant some now, not just starting them from seed, I don't think. If you transplant some right now, then you should be okay. Make sure you add fertilizers and all of that into the planting hole. Be really good with your fertilizer game too, to just boost that, production as soon as possible. Or you can try planting micro dwarfs. They will start producing in 30 to 45 days from seed, if you wanted. And that's some cherry tomatoes right there. All the micro dwarfs are cherry. I've never seen anything bigger than that. I mean, it's a little plant. Micro dwarfs are usually around, I'm sorry if you guys hear those airplanes. There's a lot today. But yeah, the micro dwarfs, the plants are about 12 inches, some maybe 15 inches tall. That's it. So if you're looking for a tomato to hurry up and squeeze in some kind of a harvest real quick, then go with the micro dwarfs. TSL is asking what's the best way to deal with root knot nematodes. I kind of discussed it a little bit about building up soil microbiology. Root knot nematodes, it sucks. It sucks if you're in a hot climate because it doesn't get cold enough to kill them during the winter in the soils and stuff like that. So that is why it is a problem for us and not, gardeners up north and that kind of thing. It's not just one solution and you're good. It takes incorporating management, different kinds of practices and stuff consistently just to keep the population down as much as possible. Right now, I've been doing a lot of studying on the topic. My garden doesn't have it too bad, but I have one bed that I definitely know it's there. Like anytime I grow something in there, it has it, but it's not as bad. It's not so bad that I can't grow anything at all in there. And I know there's some people that have it so bad you can't grow anything. So I've been like rehabbing that bed. I just did soil testing on it to get they're going to tell me like what species of root knot nematodes is in there, because there's certain plants that are either resistant or kill it, but it also depends on the variety of root knot nematodes. There's several different species. So knowing what species you're dealing with is very important. Also, they'll kind of give me a count so I can track that over time and see if like the things that I'm doing are actually working. But most people will say solarize, and I've even said that as well. Like the state of Florida has the agricultural department and all that kind of stuff that puts data out there for gardeners and the protocol you should do if you have this or that. They have a protocol for root knot nematodes, and it says like solarize and plant resistant types of crops. I'm starting to lean towards not solarizing at all, because when you solarize, you're killing everything in that soil, even the good stuff. And you need high numbers of the good stuff they either outright eat or kill the root knot nematodes, or they at least, if the population of the good stuff is high, then the population of the bad stuff is competing for nutrients and space and all of that, and so that makes it harder on them to survive and live and grow and spread in the environment or whatever. So I'm kind of more now leaning towards proper soil health and building up the microbiology as much as possible. So lots of like wood chipping, composting in place, adding worm castings, anything with chitin, like paper products to attract earthworms, like all of this stuff. Also, of course, putting compost, but you have to be like really good at making compost to make sure that it's actually bioactive and it actually is inoculated with the good stuff and all of that. And that's a whole teaching right there that I'm not even like an expert on that, and I'm actually hoping to learn more about that kind of stuff when I go to Costa Rica next month for my permaculture certification. But it's not just a one solution thing, and it's a constant forever thing you are going to have to be managing and working on, basically. Shannon, you said you're panicking, you're organizing seeds and overthinking everything. So I don't know how long you've been gardening, but I remember when I was new to growing food. Yes. Like, how do you stay on top of all of that? And the most helpful thing for me, quite honestly, was starting out with a couple crops each season. So not a million of them, because how to grow each different crop is grown very differently. So one at a time until you master that one, then you move on and throw in a new one and just keep going from there. But like just taking your time, making sure you're learning every single one. And then also learning the correct time of year to plant that stuff wherever you're located is super important. And I will I will go and gather all of my seeds. Usually I do this like in December, right? In winter when I'm prepping for the new year and all the gardening that I want to do. I will take all of my seeds or order the new ones and stuff that I want to try next year, all of that stuff, right? And then I will set them all out in front of me. And then I will start calculating like when I need to plant these seeds according to month. Like what month do I have to sow my tomato seeds? What month do I have to direct sow my squash, or like whatever it is that you want to do. And then I'll get a Ziploc bag for each month and I'll write the month's name on there and I'll put the seeds in that bag. So you can have like your whole year planned out for you if you want in advance. And then you just pull out that baggie at the beginning of that month and you know, okay, these are the seeds that I need to sow this month. And then that will help you so much, so much. And then obviously following my garden guides or the monthly garden guides, or you know, whatever gardener is in your area's guides, like whatever. Mine, yes, I'm in Florida, but I try to cater to everyone, right? And I try to give guidance no matter where you're located. How to grow something is the same from seed to harvest. It's just the timing is going to be different. So, man, those planes are so loud. So in my guides, I get pretty specific, like how do you calculate when to plant this for you so that you can figure that out. But anyways, that format really helped me for the longest time. So I didn't get all stressed out and I just had it all together. I wasn't late starting my seeds and that kind of stuff, or forgot something. So, all right, hold on. I got to get back in here. Tampa agent is asking, what would I grow from seed this time of year? If you're in Tampa, you're growing herbs, tomatoes, peppers, and corn. I mean, that sounds fantastic what you have so far. I mean, for Tampa, basically, you want to do your last round of warm season crops because you still have time, probably. Well, you're north of me, so you probably get your frost maybe like 2 weeks before me or something like that. But still, you have plenty of time. And then starting seeds indoors for your cool season stuff, basically. That's kind of the game plan right now. Which I also discuss in the August garden guide. There's a section for if you have 4 months left, which is, I'm going to guess you have like 4 months left until frost, what you should be planting right now. So you can watch that to get more ideas as well. Yeah, I see lots of questions about what to plant right now, and I'm going to direct you all to the August garden guide because that will list out everything according to, you know, where you're located and how much time you have left. Karen is saying that, our question, I had a devastating issue with squash bugs this year. I've never seen so many. Yeah, they love anything in the cucurbit family, so squash, cucumbers, melons. That's their preferred food, so to speak. And last year I had them the worst I've ever seen, right? So I like did a deep dive into like how to get rid of this, how to whatever, right? And I put a video last summer about 12 different ways to either kill them, manage it, whatever, that are all organic ways, by the way. So I search in YouTube, Jara's Garden, squash bugs. It should come up. I only have one video about it, but I implemented all of those practices this year, early spring, right at the very beginning, and I knocked that squash bug population down, and I didn't have any squash bugs this year, basically, because I knew what to do, and I got rid of them before they started like populating my garden, laying eggs. Like one female squash bug lays like 300 eggs, and they hatch in 10 days. So if you're not on top of it, for that cycle, you know, within every 10 days, disrupting it, getting rid of the eggs, killing the adults, that kind of thing. Every 10 days, you're going to have like a new generation, and it just gets out of control. And then you can't grow anything in the squash family. There's so many of them. So the most important thing I would say out of all the ways to deal with it is to, as soon as you find one squash bug in your garden, you know the squash bugs have woken up from the winter. They're coming. They're starting to repopulate. Squish them, kill them. Unfortunately, the adults, they have a hard shell, so you cannot spray with like a treatment. It's not going to kill them. The hard shell protects them. So manual removal is the number one way to get rid of them. And I don't like touching them. Okay, they're gross. So I put on gloves and I will go out when I'm watering, like anything in the cucurbit family. When I water, I'm watering at the base of the plant. And when you wet that soil, you'll see the squash bugs pop out of the soil because they don't want to get wet or drown or whatever. They'll start crawling up the plant trying to get away. And that's how you see them. You can spot them so easy that way. So I'll put on gloves. I'll start watering at the base of the plants. I'll see them scurrying around and I'll grab them and I'll like stomp on them and just squish them. And then I'll also do like a little check underneath all of the leaves for any eggs. So, and I'll get like duct tape and I'll pull the eggs out. Sometimes I'll like tear the piece or the area around the leaf that the eggs are stuck onto, and I'll take it, throw that away in the trash. Don't like throw it out in your garden because those eggs will still hatch. So yeah, and I did that maybe for like 2 or 3 weeks. It wasn't a big deal, and then they were gone. Like they just couldn't populate. And the whole summer I didn't have any squash bugs or anything like that. So that was, yeah, definitely the best way to deal with it. Woven Apps wants to learn more about flowers and how to incorporate them. If I can include more information on flowers, I'm definitely trying. It's hard. Like when I come up with YouTube video ideas, it's based on what's going on in my garden at that time. So it's totally random, and it's not like I have a set topics or whatever that I'm going to discuss. I just don't know. But a lot of people have been asking me for more flowers, like growing flowers. And of course, I grow a lot of flowers in my garden. I love attracting the bees in and that kind of thing. Just real basic, like right now I'm sowing seeds indoors for tons of flowers that I can only grow during the fall, like the cool season, because they don't like extreme heat. So that's stuff like hollyhocks, borage, nasturtiums. They just don't like the extreme heat. They don't grow here in the summer. So I take advantage and grow those during the fall and winter. So I'm sowing the seeds now. A lot of them I will just sow in 72 cell seed trays. So I'll grow out a lot of flowers at one time, or depending if it's like a bigger type of flower, maybe a 4-inch pot, something like that. So yeah, I'm sowing seeds for a ton of flowers. And then once they get big enough and it's time to transplant outside, I intermix them all over the garden, right? A good way to like mix it up and break up your crops so you're not monocropping is like plant, just as an example, plant 3 tomatoes in a row, then plant a flower or an herb, then plant 3 more tomatoes, and then another flower or herb. And that's kind of like how you can break things up in between your crops as well. So lots of questions about what to plant right now. And again, I'm just going to direct you guys to the August garden guide on my channel because it's so much information and it's going to vary depending on where you're located. So I can't like answer that specific to one person right now, if that makes sense, because it's not going to apply to everyone else. But definitely go watch the August garden guide. You have to know how many days you have left until your first winter frost. That is by far how to calculate the correct time to plant stuff and what you can plant right now. So that guide will break it all up according to how much time you have left. Tamiko, you're asking about, it's called Ram board. Yes. So I've been switching to using Ram board. It's a thick cardboard, it's like a thick cardboard paper. It's not thick like a cardboard box. It's more like a really thick construction paper type deal, but it is like cardboardy brown paper. Ram board, RAM board. A lot of people, I mean, you can find this at like Home Depot or whatever, but I found the best price on Amazon. So I bought a huge roll of it. And then as I'm prepping my beds and my raised beds, my in-ground spaces or whatever, I'm like weeding out, cleaning up, preparing for fall. I put my soil amendments, then I put 2 layers of the Ram board to like block out weeds, crabgrass, whatever. Then I took my water hose and I wet it so that it would kind of like stick and stay in place. And then I threw a whole bunch of mulch on top of that. And as far as mulch, my favorite type of mulch is wood-based mulches because they break down and feed the soil over a very long period of time. And they feed a lot of the good microbiology too. So I prefer wood types of mulches over something like pine needles. Pine needles. We're in Florida. There's lots of pine needles. There's a place not too far from me that actually sells bales of pine needles for like $4, and that will cover a lot of garden space. But pine needles don't really break down, and they don't offer much in terms of like nutrition and feeding the microbiology. So wood does, though. Wood is great. If you can get free wood chips, that's awesome. I have a video all about how I get my free wood chips and how I use it around my garden. And if you just can't get wood chips or whatever, and you have to go buy something, then buy wood mulches, but not dyed. Don't buy the kind that has like red dye or whatever, decorative purposes, that kind of thing. Get natural, not dyed stuff, and that's the best thing you can get, I think, buying anyways. I've been talking a lot, like my voice box is like getting all scratchy. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get caught up here in the comments with the questions. TSL, you're saying you have lots of marigolds. They basically reseeded and popped up around your garden, and you're not sure what to do with them because you're going to be planting vegetables soon and that kind of stuff. Honestly, I would leave them, and then if you're transplanting, you just dig your little hole, transplant it right there. I do that a lot because I have marigolds as well that just pop up all over. If you're direct sowing seeds, then you need a clear area, so you might have to like pull them out. Marigolds have a lot of compounds in them that fight or kill root knot nematodes, so it's very good to compost with them. I saw that you mentioned, should you leave them in the beds to compost? Dang, I got a plane and I have like the community people that cut the grass or whatever they're doing at the same time. I'm so sorry guys if you hear all that. But marigolds, that's really good organic matter to compost with. I have chopped them because some of my marigolds get so bushy. I've like chopped them down and just like spread it around to kind of use as a mulch. I mean, yeah, use it. Don't just like pull it out and throw it away. Use that as a resource. Woven Naps is asking, you're growing Puerto Rican black beans as a cover crop. Oh, okay. I've never grown Puerto Rican black beans as a cover crop specifically, but that's a good idea. And the only reason why I haven't done that is because it's such a vigorous vining plant that I always grow it up on a trellis instead of just like sprawling on the ground. So let me know how that goes for you. For a cover crop, if you're looking for a legume though, I have a tendency to recommend California black-eyed pea number 5. Because that one is known to be nematocidal specifically. So, and that's like a more, it still gets kind of viney, but it's not like on the level of the Puerto Rican black beans. And as far as adding insect frass, biochar, humic acid, all of that stuff is fantastic for building the soil health, the microbiology, fighting off root knot nematodes. I have not used biochar or humic acid yet, but definitely into the insect frass. Whatever you can use it. All of that stuff. Whatever you have access to, all of it. Hold on, guys. I'm scrolling through, and it's just started raining. I'm kind of surprised that it's raining this early. So there have been times I've done classes, and it starts raining and lightning and all that, and I've had to stop because it's not safe out here. So... but so far it's just sprinkling, and I actually like that it's cooled down. And I'm one of those people when it's like this kind of weather where it's like a soft sprinkle, I will go out and garden at that point because it's so hot like the rest of the day that I actually prefer to garden in the rain sometimes, as long as it's not like lightning. Gwen is saying you want to grow peanuts. When would you plant those? You're a 9B. I wouldn't plant them now. Peanuts take a long time from seed to harvest, for them to be ready for harvest. And we're going into like the cool season, the cold fronts are coming, that kind of thing. I would plant them in spring when all danger of frost is past. That way you can grow them through spring and summer, and then you'll definitely harvest like before frost or whatever cold comes. So I would save them for then. Wendy G is asking about planting out kale seedlings. It depends how hot it is. I mean, you're an Oviedo. You're pretty much the same as me. I like to wait until October to transplant my things in the brassicas, kale included, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, when it actually is cool. Because if you put them out now, it's way too hot, and that will stunt their growth, and they'll stay super tiny for forever, and it's just not good for them right now. So definitely, I've started mine from seed. I'm growing my transplants right now with the intent to transplant outside in October. Becky Martinez has a question about fertilizing brassicas. You're getting conflicting info. I mean, there's so many ways to fertilize brassicas. So I wouldn't say that the info you're getting is necessarily wrong. It's just different ways that people do it. I do have YouTube tutorials specific on how to grow broccoli, how to grow cauliflower, and cabbage too. So, and I talk about the fertilizer routine. Basically, at initial transplanting, you want those plants to put on a lot of growth and get big in size as quick as possible. So it's important to like fertilize with maybe just an all-purpose, I guess. Put some in the planting hole, fertilize consistently. The bigger the plant is, the bigger the plant is before it starts putting that main stem and creating that head of broccoli or cauliflower, or if it's a cabbage, like starting to head the cabbage or form it in the middle. The bigger the plant is before that point, the bigger your head of broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage will be, right? The bigger the plant, the more energy and stuff, nutrients and all of that it can pull and harvest and whatever and put into production. So initially at the beginning, it's really important to just everything on all purpose. But then once you start seeing that heading is forming, that head of broccoli or whatever, that is technically a flower that you're eating. So now you want to kind of shift towards the nutrients that are responsible for quality flower production, so to speak. And that would be more heavy on the phosphorus and potassium side and backing off on the nitrogen, basically. So the kinds of fertilizers, the types, whatever that you would use, the brand, it doesn't matter. It's more looking at the nutrients. So at the beginning, all general purpose. Towards the end of the season, when it goes into production, more heavier on phosphorus and potassium. And yeah, I definitely discussed that in my video tutorials that are specific for those crops. I reorganized my playlist. I did a lot of reorganizing to make it more specific, and I definitely have one playlist dedicated to brassicas, so you can easily find all of those videos in there. Shannon is saying, who ships soft-neck garlic in time for us hot climate gardeners to have time to vernalize before planting? Everyone wants to ship until late September. Late September is fine. Shannon, I don't know exactly where you're located, but if you're in Florida, I ordered a whole bunch of my sweet garlic already, and it's also arriving to me. It should be early September, I think. And I will pop that in the fridge for as long as possible, and I finally end up planting them in December. So that's a good, still 2 months and a half chunk of time to vernalize. And I still got nice, decent sized garlic bulbs out of that. So I wouldn't be too worried about it if they arrive in September. Gwen is asking about what kind of all-purpose granular slow-release fertilizers do I use. I really like a Espoma brand. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just The brand that I still happen to find at the stores and have just always used. And so yeah, they're garden tone, or if you're growing tomatoes or peppers, I like to use the tomato tone. For all of my fruit trees and stuff like that, I use their citrus tone. That's basically all that I use. Okay, 1 second, guys. I gotta restart this again because it, I don't know, it like stops updating the chat. One second. I gotta reload everything. Okay. Whew, it's gonna take me man, you guys have a lot of questions today. I don't think my voice can take it much longer. Like, my throat hurts. Let me just scan through some of these really quick. And if I missed your question, I am sorry. I promise I'm not ignoring you. I just missed it. It's very hard to go through all of this and find them all and stuff and see where I left off. So if I missed your question, please feel free to email me at info@jarrahsgarden.com. And the email is the best way to get a hold of me, by the way. A lot of times people will put send me messages through like Facebook or Instagram. I cannot keep up with all, especially TikTok. I cannot keep up with the messages on there. I'm only one person. I don't have like a team of people or whatever that helps me with all this. So email by far is the best way, because I can see like if that's a new message and if I've read it and that kind of stuff. So Gwen is asking about my fertilizer schedule and hydrogen peroxide or BT schedule. So for fertilizer schedules, that's not something I can say that one schedule fits all, because it depends on the crop. If it's a flowering crop like tomatoes, peppers, they produce a flower that turns into fruit. That fertilizing regimen is going to be very different than a lettuce, like something that you grow just to eat its leafy greens. So it's best to study the crop and what fertilizers would do best for it. And then the hydrogen peroxide or BT, I don't preemptively spray stuff around in my garden unless there's an actual problem or a reason why I would do it. So I walk through my garden every single day, and I immediately notice when something is starting to catch, like powdery mildew, for example, or oh, this is starting to get chewed up, I must have worms. Like catching it at the beginning and then immediately treating for it at that point. So if I'm getting like powdery mildew or some kind of leaf disease or like tomato blight, I will start the 1 cup of hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water sprays, and repeat it maybe every 5 days, something like that, until I notice like that disease is stopped progressing or spreading, or like you can visibly see the reduction, and then I'll stop. But if it's been raining a lot, or we get hit by a hurricane and there's just water everywhere, that causes pathogens to spread and grow and whatever, then you might need to spray more frequently, like maybe once every 3 days, to help knock that disease down. If if your plants are getting chewed up like crazy from the worms, then you might have to spray more frequently as well. But follow the directions on the package of whatever spray you're using them. Hold on, guys. I'm still reading through. Sarah is asking me if I'm going all out for fall or delaying a little for hurricane season. So hurricane season sucks, and it definitely, if I get hit by a hurricane, all of us, it does damage for sure to my garden. I'm not on the coast though. I don't know if you're located on the coast. I don't know how people on the coast do it. Because if a hurricane comes and hits you, you guys are wiped out, like wiped out. At least here in the middle of Florida, Central Florida, we will get flooding for sure. My backyard floods. I haven't noticed any of my crops really die off because the flooding is there and for like a good hour or two maybe, and then it leaves, right? The water moves away quickly, at least at my house. There's some parts of Orlando that stay flooded for a long time, but anyways, for the most part, it floods, the soil gets super saturated, and then it's gone. It's usually cleared up in an hour or two. None of my crops have really died from that except for tomatoes. So if I have tomatoes growing in the ground for fall and I get hit by a hurricane, it just seems like the soil is so saturated, it causes a lot of root rot. It causes all of like tomato blight and powdery mildew. Everything goes crazy, and those plants, they just can't handle it and they die. So I have just changed my game plan a little bit when it comes to growing tomatoes in the fall. I have a tendency to grow more, like focus on micro dwarfs and dwarf varieties, because they grow, get from seed to harvest faster than an indeterminate or something like that. So what that means is if a hurricane comes through, the winds will shred up all my tomato plants. They are leafless. They look like stems at the end of that. And so it takes them weeks to recover and bounce back from that. And that will delay your harvest. So at the very least, if you're planting something that is like a cherry tomato, or a micro dwarf, or a dwarf, they will bounce back and get back into production much faster than something like an indeterminate. That is just something that I've noticed. So I will save my indeterminates for planting in spring. So I've broken it up like that. Or plant your tomatoes or crops that are susceptible to flooding or high amounts of soil moisture in grow bags. I've done that before, and that's fine. Because grow bags dry out very fast, so that way you don't have to worry. But I've not had like brassicas die from the flooding or stuff like that I've noticed yet. So just like tweaking your game plan a little bit, and you should be fine. Unless you're on the coast and you guys get just devastated. I will never live on the coast because of that. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. All right, guys, my neighbor has started cutting his grass, and he's right next to me. And my voice, honestly, is hurting. My voice box is hurting a lot for some reason. So I'm going to end this now. And I know there's a ton of questions here, a lot. And I'm so sorry. There's a lot. Please feel free to email me, info@jarrahsgarden.com, with any of your missed questions. All right, people do that all the time. I'm happy to answer them. Don't forget as well, my website right now, the seeds and plants, there is like a little discount wheelie thing, so you can get a discount if you need to order some seeds and plants, especially for the upcoming fall season. My website is jarrahsgarden.com. Also the seed, I do have a seed subscription, a seasonal seed subscription. If you are struggling with trying to figure out what varieties of things to grow for that season and get the planting time correct and that kind of thing, I'm about to ship out the next one. That will be the winter seed collection, delivery, whatever, for winter growing. It's going to ship out earlier than normal. So if you're already part of my seed subscription, the normal shipping date would have been September 20th, but I'm going to be in Costa Rica. So I am shipping that stuff out before I leave to Costa Rica early. So that's going to be between September 5th and 6th. They're going to be just being shipped out. So you guys are going to get it a little bit early. So if you want to be included in that delivery and have not joined yet, the deadline to join is September 5th, so that's right around the corner. If you want more details, there's 4 different plans to choose from. It's all on my website, jarrahsgarden.com, and there's a link in this class as well. Or there's a link in the description of this class. And if you missed any portion of this live garden class, it's going to be uploaded to my channel on the live tab too, in a few minutes, right after I'm done. So thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me. This was just a general Q&A. I try to do at least one live class a month just to connect with you guys, to chat a little bit about gardening. Sometimes it has a specific theme, sometimes it doesn't. The best way to find out about live classes or anything that's going on is definitely to be part of my email group. And there's a link in the description as well. Because if I post it, I do try to post the dates and stuff on social media, but if you just don't happen to be scrolling and looking at it at that moment, you're going to miss it for sure. So the email group is the best way to get a hold of, dates and times for stuff. So anyways, I'll chat with you guys next month when I come back from Costa Rica. I'm sure I'm going to have tons of information to share with you all. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today and chit-chatting a little bit about gardening. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday evening.